Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to get into my F80 M3, the fast one. So we're actually doing 3 videos about this car that I know right now. Could it go longer than that? It might, but I just know based on the amount of footage we're going to have, it's going to be at a minimum 3 videos. If you guys want to see all the videos in this car and see everything going on, be sure to subscribe right now so you don't miss out on future things. The first 2 videos in this car will be about the full build breakdown, every single part that I have in this car and every single secret and what it took to get to where I got it. The third video will actually be about the things I wish I could have done differently and all the failures I had. People say I broke motors, transmissions. I will go over every single failure, nothing hidden, so you guys can see what I did right, what I did wrong, and how it can be done better. So we have one for drifting, and this is or was the fastest F80 in the world. It still holds the record for highest horsepower at about 1230 wheel horsepower. It holds the record for 6130 at 3.8 seconds, and it holds a quarter-mile record at, I think they did a 9.1 and change at 160, 161. This is it. So everyone right now builds F80s. There's a ton of people out there that are trying to beat and break this record, and at the end of the day, it's all pretty sad. I spec'd this out like 4 or 5 years ago. Haven't really changed anything at all, and then I have people still trying to chase it, and they're just really just copying and pasting. They're all buying the same turbo that I'm running. They're all trying to keep up, and it's not even a battle. Unfortunately, with this car, it's been a little bit crappy. Super guys have gone and pushed the platform harder and harder. With this, it's been absolutely zero competition and no real need to push harder. So the guys right now that are out trying to get it and making like their F80 gods, they can do whatever they want to do. There's been no competition for like 4 years now of all the records just going faster and faster. I drive this car once or twice every year, and I'm just sort of done with it. I love it, but I need to spend my time and effort into other cars, other projects I have. The past 2 years, 3 years, I did one event in Florida, Impact every year. So I've driven the car, let's say 20 times in the past 3 years, and every time it goes faster. Faster works great, but I just don't need to keep pushing it. If I could keep it, I would, but unfortunately, my funds of building cars is limited like everyone else's, even though people don't see that. So I'm gonna just park this out, get rid of the car, and then gonna throw the money into G80 M3 building it and stuff like that to push that car to the same extremes. Hopefully people go faster with those cars and it'll push me into being faster. This has been too easy. It's like a joke in terms of everyone else building these cars, trying to tune them when like I'm on old stuff. There are tons of wires and messes, we rip it out. I'm gonna go over every single part that we have on this car, the tips, tricks, and secrets of what I've done to make it fast. And I think you guys are gonna be in for a little bit of surprise in terms of why this is the baddest F80 on earth. Start going the whole build breakdown of the car from the front to the rear. We're gonna start, I don't know how exactly, if I go out of order, my bad. I'm gonna try to keep it literally front to back. I have a front mount intercooler in the car instead of the factory air to water. What that does for me is on the dyno, I was able to do between 7 and 8, 9, 10 dyno pulls in a row at 1100 wheel horsepower back at maximum PSI, and the car made within 5 to 10 wheel horsepower each pull. With the top heat, the top air to water intercooler, you just cannot cool it good enough. You do one pull and you're down 20, 30 wheel the next one. Mike's car at 900 wheel, we're down 50 wheel pull to pull, sometimes back to back. So by me doing this front mount, it allowed it to work as good as possible. Yes, if you have the OEM one with an icebox on it or something, you can get lower than ambient, which is like the outside temperatures on the car. I didn't want to do any of that. I bought a Treadstone like $400 intercooler and used that instead. This coolant tank, I know some people have wondered where I got this. This was from my dad's 328 F series, and I put my coolant bottle on his car and just joined the lines together with a little splice. There's no mount on this car, so I use a nut and bolt in here to attach it. The coolant level sensor, I don't recall if I had to extend the wires, but yeah, this is a factory part off another BMW. Rolling backwards, we'll go into the turbo kit a little bit, and then we'll get into the motor. The turbo kit's a Precision 7275 Gen 2. It's been on the car for a while. It was on the car before and after it caught on fire. and I have not changed that or done anything with it. I replaced an O-ring that was leaking a little bit inside. You're not supposed to remove or disassemble. I didn't feel like mailing it back. That turbo still, it made 1230 wheel after my big fire. My friend Ricky Bobby made the top mount manifold, which we like ported a little bit just because it wasn't perfect for what I wanted. Other than that, now the cars are dry shot and nitrous hooked back up because I tried going drag racing about a month ago and it was a huge fail. I got rained out one day and I went 2 days later and a Porsche crashed into the wall because the prep was so bad, and then they got into a fight and we got kicked out. So this was actually never used the dry shot. And I know everything's a mess, but it is what it is. I have an AEM 5-bar map sensor going to the factory ECU. The scaling in the ECU is off, so my boost will always read a little bit off in the ECU, to be very honest. There's a spare ground wire, man, because I had electrical interference issues with a variety of things, even though you're not supposed to do that. Fueling wise, I have South Bay 1200cc injectors. I run them on every E36 I own personally. I've never had a reliability problem. I made 1200 wheel with overhead on my injectors and fuel system. We'll work right through the whole fuel system too while we're talking about. It's a Dash 8 feed line. I have 3 fuel pumps. I have 2 Walbro E85 compatible pumps. I have the China manifold, which is just a aluminum intake manifold, top feed injectors. We're gonna use the same one in the B58 car with the modified head flange on the B58 drift car we're doing. So everyone always wondered how much boost I run. I always said a lot of boost or a little bit of boost. My little bit of boost was 40 pounds boost, 42 pounds, which was 1,040 wheel. It was not the most efficient boost versus power. To make 1200 wheel took about 50 to 55 PSI depending on the cylinder head I ran. I say it because I had valve float a long time ago and it never made the perfect power. It would make 1160 to 1180 at like 54. After my car caught on fire, I put a new head on it. I reused the same bottom end and it made 1230 at like 52 PSI. 53 PSI, just because the valves had a fresh valve job on it. So that's fuel system wise, intake manifold, the turbo manifold. Also, I make like 1200 wheel through a turbo guard, which shouldn't work. I usually run it without the turbo guard when I'm at the track and the car works and I'm trying to turn it up. All my wastegate lines are stainless steel braided lines. They're all crimped. That's for reliability reasons. My whole fuel system is the same, stainless steel crimped. In regards to this line right here, when I was at the track and we went 9-1, we had a clutch issue. I flew cold down with a clutch. We put a new transmission in because I wasn't sure if it was a clutch or transmission issue. We changed everything. Overnight before resetting the record, we smushed the fuel line between the trans and the motor in the process of not sleeping and just banging out the car. I went down the track, my car misfired. I hit up AIM, when I was at the track, AIM Performance, the guys with all the super fast Porsches, had a fuel line that they were using to drain fuel out of cars. That shit's lived on the car and got me to 9-1. So I have a new fuel line. I'm selling a lot of parts off the car also. So if anyone buys a fuel system from me, I have a new line. I just never changed it because, I don't know, I just never changed it. I'm on stock ignition coils. I run NGK 97506 plugs at about 14 thousandths gap. And the reason for that is I don't want misfires. I don't care if the idle quality is not perfect, even though to be honest, it was pretty amazing. It really always ran great on factory stuff. I run a micro squirt fuel injector controller. That's a little bit of my own contraption. I've never seen anyone else set one up. It allows me to do nitrous control, fueling, all that, all in one. When I went 9-1, I had no nitrous on the car. I use a factory anti-lag. I put it back on for the last time I tried running the car because I thought, you know what, anti-lag stuff works, but it's very high RPM. If I do a lower RPM on the nitrous, it might leave smoother and less aggressive on the whole drivetrain. Never got to test it. It's already out of the car now on the back, so I will never get to test it on this car. Not sure what I'll repurpose it on in the future, or maybe I'll sell it. But yeah, micro squirt controller handles all the fueling, etc. I tried a link on the car. I was not happy with it. I went back to micro squirt. And motor wise, let's go I guess through the motor. Also micro squirt controls the boost. I ran 2 3-port Mac valves. Everyone says it's better than a 4-port. I really saw no large difference. I got to like 1100 wheel with just a 3-port because I have very low back pressure because I have a 3.5-inch open exhaust and a very large turbine housing, a 75mm turbine wheel. But getting to the motor, this is, I think everyone wonders, what's the secrets? What did I do to make this car work so good? And the secret is, everyone sucks, pretty much, as sad as that sounds. Everyone chasing these records, this is a basic engine. Car has no cylinder head porting at all. It has valve springs. I don't remember if it's stock or aftermarket valves. I do know it has a fresh valve job though. I do have the MIVL spacers that go from, I think it adds like 1 millimeter of lift. But to be honest with you, I sort of didn't even like them. It added no power. I think it put extra strain on the whole Valvetronic system. And now I have randomly throws a Valvetronic fault. So I'm gonna change that all out before selling the motor to the future buyer, whoever that might be, because it randomly throws Valvetronic fault, and that's not acceptable. Even though I went fast like that, it didn't really matter. I just cleared if it ever came up. But yeah, stock head just has valve springs and MIVL things that added 0 horsepower when tested before and after on the dyno. Maybe if it had a ported head, it would help more. Oh, bottom end wise, these are not off the shelf pistons. They're from Max PSI. He ordered a bunch of batches of a little bit stronger ones. A little bit beefier ring lands, a little bit different on the bottom. These are made by Mal, who makes the OEM ones. When I got them, actually, they were wrong. We had to machine them down the tops, the height correct, otherwise it would have smashed the cylinder head. They fixed that though on the future batches for everyone else, but that was a little bit weird when we assembled it. Standard motor has really heavy duty rods in it, these really heavy duty pistons, heavy duty wrist pins in there. It has king bearings in it, and it only has a 2-pin crank hub. It does not have a 4-pin crank hub like everyone says you need. I was gonna change it for a 4-pin, and I couldn't get the crank bolt loose, so I decided, you know what? We're gonna leave it until it breaks, and the 2-pin has never broken, never failed. People that say the 2-pins fail, they only break really, I think, because install error, if you don't drill the holes perfectly, because the fixtures are not great from a lot of manufacturers. We actually went back to using 2-pins on almost everyone's car from a different manufacturer, because the quality of the fixture is just so great. But yeah, the secret of the motor is there's no secret of the motor. Secret of turbo kit is there's no secret in the turbo kit. A lot of it I think has to do with the tuning of the car and the way that I set everything up, the way I deleted whatever I deleted. Haven't really had a problem. Car went 3.8 6130 as mentioned before. It's gone 4.0 like 10-15 times probably. It could probably go fast. It probably could have done like a 3.6 I bet if I would have not had the same problems. Oh, previously when I went 3.8 6130 9.1, my car was shifting at 7,000 RPMs. I revved to 8,100 normally on the car, and I took 8 PSI more to do the same 4.0 6130 due to the RPM shifting early. That's because I have a very big lazy turbo. With that being said, I think that the car could have gone faster than the 9.1. I just never got a chance to try it again, and I don't really mess with the car enough to really try doing it again. So that's that. Also, I'll give you guys all the failures I've had, which I think a lot of people always wonder. Oh, you break this, you break that. Well, to go backwards, forwards that quickly, I've never broken an axle, I've never broken a drive shaft, I've never broken a diff, I've never broken a diff mount. I upgraded that stuff all from the get-go to not have failures. I've had spares of everything. I ended up using the spare axles of my drift car because I never had a failure, and now I have 2 drive shafts to sell. I hope you guys really enjoy watching everything about my F80. If you do, be sure to subscribe to see more. Like I said, this is 1 of 3 videos that we're gonna do on this car. The next one's gonna be going into way more stuff about the whole build breakdown, and then the following one will be about the mistakes I've made and all that stuff, and the parts I could have done to make it better. But thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed. Be sure to stay tuned for more.